Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back for the 200th time to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. It is Thursday, May 29th. This is episode 200. Woo! Woo! My wife brought us a cake and some poppers, so that was nice.
It was very nice.
It was very nice
Look
of
at
her.
that. That's just really sweet of her.
There you go.
Poke somebody's eye out with that thing.
Well, I kind of knew it was coming because also Don had never done one of these before, literally 5 minutes ago. There you go.
But you got to get out a little, bro.
Well, it's going to be funny because I'm the one that has to clean all this up probably. But anyway, I was texting Jordan a little earlier, and I was like, oh, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to come into work soon. I might stop and get a cake. She's like, you shouldn't get one. I was like, why not? Yeah. She's like, well, I wouldn't get one.
Calories.
I wouldn't, You're on a diet. You just might not want cake. And she's like, all right, well, here we are. Anyway, episode 200, we made it. Good job. Cake for everybody. Got a little bit about that a little later, but as always, Chuck Miketinac, Don Harris on tap, Javi on the keys over there, and I thought he was going to play something. I don't know. And Bob Gambert on Cyber Bob on the computer.
Man, do you remember episode 89?
Whew, what a day that was. Anyway, subscribe to the YouTube channel, both News 4 Fox, say download, rate, review the podcast version, wherever you get your podcasts. Got a lot going on. We got Spurs trade speculation, so a lot of reported sources talking about what the Spurs are reportedly going to do at number 2. Do they trade? Do they sit at number 2? If so, if they do trade, who are they going to trade for? We'll talk all about that. A lot of construction going on to this building roster right now. Plus, the Cowboys back at OTAs today for round 2. We heard from Coach Schottenheimer, and you will as well as we talk about what we learned today from OTAs. But I want to start with the Spurs, as we normally do. The Cam Johnson rumors are picking up a bit, I'll say. Cam Johnson, the small forward shooting guard-ish person for the Nets, was on the Suns for a few years. He's a 39% free three-point shooter, very good. But a lot of reports, and we'll keep putting that in quotes.
Big time. A lot of guys who live at home in mom's basement.
Spurs trading for Cam Johnson for number 2. So, Don, take it away. Tell me what the rumors are and why you disagree with them.
It's a long story, but,
You do have about 30 minutes on the podcast.
When you see reports, you say, who is reporting it, first and foremost. And if it's a guy that, like Woj or Shams or Stein or some of these guys, you go, oh, okay. They're probably talking to guys, GMs or the Nets or Sean Marks or somebody on his team or something like that. But when it's, a guy you've never heard of that writes for Motorcycle Weekly blog that's picked up and aggregated 3 times before it gets to whatever.
That's my favorite blog.
Yeah. Then you know that this is his brainchild and he's just putting it out there, and then somebody else calls it a report. So anyway, whether or not the Nets want to trade into the top 3 or not and the fact that the Spurs have a pick in the top 3 does not mean the Spurs are interested at all in trading the number 2 pick. That said, if you just want to speculate and say as fans, would you? Like if you won the lottery, what would you do with $1 million? If you want to just play and have fun, then I think it's absolutely ridiculous to even think that the Spurs would give up number 2 for Cam Johnson in something like 23 and 26. No way. However, the Nets also own the 8th pick. That was not mentioned in the article. But if the 8th pick and Cam Johnson and 2 future firsts were on the table, then you might say, if you're the Spurs, I might think about that, especially if a guy we really like is at 8, let's say Concanipple falls, and let's say they're interested in him.
Yeah, or
anybody else, right, that they're interested in. So I don't think they do a pre-draft deal. I think they hang on to their pick. They pick Dylan Harper. They wait and see who's at 8. And if the Nets pick them at 8 and say the guy that they want is there, then they might say, okay, take that guy, and then we'll make this deal. But I don't think, again, I'm on the record as saying I think they keep the pick.
Well, here's a
question. I think they picked Dylan Harper.
Well, here's a question. How valuable is the number 2 pick? Obviously, the number 1 pick is Cooper Flagg, who could be a generation. I hate the word generational when it comes to the drafts because it seems like everyone's generational now. But Cooper Flagg, who could be an all-star, superstar type player. How valuable is the number 2 pick when you're looking at a trade asset?
Depends on who's available in the draft.
So Dylan Harper. I mean, you're going to have your pick of the litter after Cooper Flagg. Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. Insert player here. You can pick any of them that you want. How valuable is that to a franchise?
So I'll tell you straight up. I talked to my former brother-in-law, Alvin Gentry, who's with the Sacramento Kings now, and he's in a front office position, and that includes year-round going to college games, scouting, and all these kind of things, talking to other scouts. Alvin told me if the Spurs had the number 3 pick, he could see them making a move. But with number 2, no way. He says the entire league believes that Dylan Harper is a future star and all-star. Now, he's not Cooper Flagg, who they see as, on the next level. But they see him being a star and an all-star and a can't-miss pro. And so for that reason, that's why you're hearing from everybody that the Spurs are sending out signals that they're keeping the pick and they're not interested in Giannis or whatever the deals that came up 2 weeks ago.
Chuck, as you're making this team, would you be interested in adding a Cam Johnson at the expense of number 2 or not at the expense of number 2 if there's, you'd only be interested in adding a Cam Johnson if there's other things you're trading for him, not the number 2 pick?
So because I don't really know enough about this young rookie group that's coming in and to be able to say that Harper is going to be this guy that's going to be an all-star and he's this and he's that. I've listened to all this stuff for the last 3 years and I don't know, it all just starts to ring the same to me in a lot of ways. So I think, though, from the Spurs' perspective is if they feel like this guy is a guy that you can plug in, he's going to be an instant contributor, he's going to do all these great things. If you view him as that guy, then, of course, you keep the pick because of what having another rookie contract means to the roster. However, if it's just going to be another guy, like we seem to have plenty of, that are they a difference maker at this point, then I think you got to make a move. I mean, again, I don't know how many times I have to say it. I'm tired of ping pong balls. I'm tired of bad teams and watching teams that don't play well together. The injuries, whatever the case may be of how we've gotten here, it's time to shake things up. And if you feel like Cam Johnson is a better player right now than what you think Harper's going to be in a year or 2, 3, 4, whatever that is, then I say you go make the move. I don't know what their thinking is on any of that, but I suspect, if I'm just spitballing here, I believe the Spurs are looking at all their options right now, and I don't know that you could say hands down that they're just going to take the pick and then go from there. I think there are some things, and I think they're making and having some tough conversations with other teams that are also having to make tough conversations as we sit here today.
I think that 2 for Cam Johnson is just stupid. I mean, it's ludicrous for 2 for Cam Johnson, and if you're not including the 8th pick and something else along with it.
Is Cam Johnson that much better than Devin Vassell?
This is where I'm going.
Other than they just play differently.
This is where I'm going with that. So I think that Cam Johnson would be a very good addition to the team because you need 3-point shooting on this team. We've said it time and time and time and time and time again. You need 3-point shooting. You need a big guy on this team. Cam Johnson would be a welcome addition, but not at the price that article put out. 2 is what you're dangling for a Giannis. 2 is what you're dangling for a KD. 2 is what you're dangling for the acceleration of your timeline. Cam Johnson does not accelerate your timeline to that degree. So my question here is, what would Cam Johnson be worth? And that's what leads me back to Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell is someone that we've all been highly critical of for, 1, his play style, and 2, just the cohesiveness that he has shown on the court, the inconsistency sometimes that he shows on the court, whether it's his shooting ability or maybe his selfishness at times on the court. Not saying he is all the time, but sometimes he is. Would you be open to switching straight up Devin Vassell for Cam Johnson? Yes. Cam Johnson is 4 years older. He makes about $5-6 million less. He is on the team. He is under contract for less years, and he has a higher three-point shooting percentage.
I would, because he's a spot-up corner three guy, and with Wemby playing inside out, and with the way that Fox can create and the way that Castle can get into the lane, they're going to need kick-out three-point shooters. He's a better Champagny, right? And so that's what they're going to need. They need two things. They need size and bulk inside, and they need three-point shooting. And they don't need another, especially if they get Harper and Castle and Fox, they don't need another guy on the ball that Devin kind of demands. Once you throw it to Devin, he's going to dribble out the shot clock and take an off-balance shot most of the time, right? So you just need a spot-up. Like I said earlier today, I said the Spurs need more Carusos and Dorts like OKC has, and less guys who think they're Michael Jordan, because they've got 3, maybe 4 great options now in Wemby, Fox, Castle, and perhaps Harper. And so you got to fit the rest of the guys around that, and that those guys can't think they're option 1A. If you ask Devin right now, he thinks he's better at a better option to score than Wemby and Fox, and he's wrong. And that's why I think it would be addition by subtraction.
Sure.
I hate to beat up on Devin because he's a really good player. He's just not what they're going to need, I don't think.
Well said. I mean, would I make the trade? I think I would too. You look at these players, shooting percentage is roughly the same, but Devin's plus minus is going the wrong way year to year. Although Cam's numbers in the plus minus department, not much better. They average about the same on the negative side, plus minus per game. So, I think just when you're talking about building or making a puzzle, right, we've got to start finding pieces that look different as opposed to a lot that look the same.
I think, and this is going to sound harsh.
The Spurs do not we.
You said we a couple times. I wasn't going to point it out, but
yeah, okay. Well, you should have. 'Cause I'm slipping in my old age.
You sound like a fan. Anyway, this is going to sound harsh, but I think Devin is a really good player on a bad team. Like that's his lot in life, is to score 25 a night for the Nets, to score 25 a night for the Blazers.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah, Jordan Poole. Thank you. That's a good option. Jordan Poole. I think he's better than Jordan Poole, but that's neither here nor there. I think that Devin Vassell has a ceiling, and his ceiling is he can be a 5th option or he can go be a number 1 somewhere else. And I think if you're him, he's going to want to be a number 1 somewhere else at some point. He's 24 years old. It's not like he's over the hill.
Now, could the Spurs convince him, right?
Hey.
This is what we want you to be, and we want you to be a lockdown defender and the 5th option on offense. Would he accept that? Now, if he would accept that, he's got all the physical tools to be a really good lockdown defender, but he's got the mentality of a scorer.
You know what he has the tools to be as well is like a Lou Williams, a Jamal Crawford, the 6th man of the year is what he could really be. Come off the bench, play 30 minutes a night still, but you're controlling the second unit. You come in, we need your instant offense off the bench.
I don't know.
I don't know if he'll ever do it.
I will always say, until, for now anyway, that you trade him for equal talent at a different position.
So Cam Johnson.
Not necessarily, either shooter or the big.
So the other thing that kept going this week is Shams Charania over at ESPN fed into some rumors going around saying the Spurs are actively pursuing wing help. And by actively pursuing wing help, he means the top tier wing help, which would be a Giannis, which would be a KD. Number 2 is the starting point for all of those discussions. And then I think you follow that with Stephon Castle being part of those discussions. At this point, though, my question is, we've talked about Giannis ad nauseum. Is KD worth that at this point? He's 37 years old. And he's going to be on his 5th team if you trade for him. Like, can he play a CP3 role just, better? Can he play that mentorship or that Harrison Barnes role since they're a little bit closer? Can he play that role? I don't know if he can at this stage in his career.
Man, it seems like I say this a million times. I don't see the Spurs deviating from their plan, which is the Oklahoma City plan, which is to draft and build and be patient. And I told, we saw the graphic last night. OKC went 20, 22, 40, 57, and 68 wins. 20, 22, 40, 57, and 68. The Spurs are at that 20, 22, 32. It's time to go to 47, 45. And I think they're just going to stay the course. I think they're going to help check out. There's not going to be more ping pong balls. But I don't think I don't see them taking the step that OKC took this year, because I remember OKC has done it 2 years ago. They won 40. So that seems to me to be their patient play. I love talking about KD and Giannis and all the potential and blowing it up and all that kind of stuff and getting rid of a bunch of picks for a guy that's going to be there 2 years. I don't think so. I think Project Marvel, Wemby being 21, this is a 10-year play for them, and they're not going to do anything to mess that up. They're not going to mortgage the future for the short term. That's my guess, but I don't know as a fact.
Thoughts? No? You're good?
I really don't know. I think they got to shake it up. You know, I was on the bandwagon forever about slow build and all that. I just don't know that this team, as it's currently assembled with the number 2 pick in the draft and the number 14 pick in the draft, is it going to make you go that much further down the road in terms of number of wins per year? I just don't. Is Project Marvel an easier sell if you got somebody like Giannis on the team?
Yeah, that's true too.
That's fair.
I mean, there's a million ways they could cut it. To their credit, they've given themselves all of the options possible. So they're going to figure out which is the best way to go forward. And whether that's this summer, shake things up, or the next summer, or the summer after that, the best thing about what they've done is the fact that they have literally all the options.
I think we're all of the opinion that maybe that's – I think you've said that the Spurs should trade number 2 if the option presents itself. But I think if they stick at number 2, the option is Dylan Harper, and that's probably what's going to happen. That creates that congested backcourt, though, which a lot of people have questioned. Why would you take Dylan Harper knowing that you have Steph Castle and De'Aaron Fox, who's going to be extended and, XYZ? With that being said, do you see more movement in the backcourt over the next couple of years? Is De'Aaron Fox going to get a mega contract in August? Is what I'm asking, basically. Steph Castle was better than expected. Dylan Harper was not planned to be on this team when they traded for De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, but, those minutes have been going to other people, right? They've been going to Chris Paul and Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley. And, there's going to be room for those 3, right? Chris Paul's not coming back.
And Devin Vassell, another guard.
Yeah, could be gone. So they're going to have 3 better pieces in those 3 than they had last year. Mm-hmm. Chuck and I disagree on this. I don't think that Fox comes here without the somewhat assurance that he's going to get a big extension. Now, I don't know that necessarily means max, but I think he came here to get an extension and to play with Wemby. And I think they're going to extend him the first day that becomes possible.
Yeah, I said at the beginning, I think we were all under the assumption that he wouldn't come here unless they were going to extend him. Why would you make the trade if you weren't going to see him past his current contract? But again, this goes back to the Spurs are holding all the cards here. If De'Aaron Fox and his camp wanted to come to San Antonio, then the Spurs didn't have to bend a knee for anything. It was he wanted to come here. Now let's see how we can make it work the best. So I don't think that the Spurs are under any obligation to give him a max deal. And again, we're assuming that, Victor's going to be here for 20 years. And you can hope that that's the case, but, at some point there has to be a move towards making the next leap up. And will they give De'Aaron Fox a long-term contract? I believe they will, but I don't think they're under any obligation to give him a max contract.
Well, they're going to give him a max because that has to have been a handshake agreement between them. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a prerequisite for that trade. It's like, we're trading for you. You're going to sign with us, and that's just what we're going to do. We'll work something out. It might not be the max.
Okay.
He's not eligible for the super max anyway. He's going to get a regular max contract.
I would agree with that, and I do agree with that. But let me drop this caveat in there. When that deal was made at the trade deadline, Steph Castle wasn't is better than they thought he was going to be the day they made that move. And they, in a million years, couldn't have foreseen getting the number 2 pick and another 6'6" playmaker. And so Castle's development and the addition of Dylan Harper, if that's the decision that they go, have made the dynamic of the roster a little different. So now if you're the Spurs, do you see it differently? The day you made that deal, you saw De'Aaron Fox as being Robin, if not Batman, with Wemby. But now do you see it differently in saying, we could build around these 3 and not give this older guy all that money?
I'll take it a step further. I don't think there was ever a secret handshake deal that we're going to give you the max deal when you get here. The way I understand it is he comes here, they're going to give him an extension, but if there's money to be missed out on his part by not getting a max deal, he's going to be able to make it up by being Victor's sidekick.
I think that being said, I think that he will get the max deal because if you're going to give a max deal at any time, it's right now. Steph Castle's on a rookie deal. Wemby's on a rookie deal. Dylan Harper's going to be on a rookie deal. You're not paying anybody.
You could, front load it and that looks like.
Even if it's 3 years, $180 million, you're paying $60 million a year to De'Aaron Fox. Okay,
he's off the books in 3 years.
He's off the books in 3 years. But he's going to get the maximum dollar amount that he can get. He's going to get the first day that they're able to get him that contract.
You could very well be right, and I'm just curious to see how it all plays out because, I mean, organizationally, the way they think of guys being max, quote-unquote, players, Tim and Kawhi, and then everybody else.
They didn't give Kawhi the max.
If you think that those guys are that kind of player, okay.
Kawhi's gone because they weren't going to give him the max.
I was going to change the subject by launching this, but it's gone already. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, so we got a lot of comments going on in the comment section today.
Thank you for chiming in.
It's a popular subject, the Spurs hot stove.
Yeah,
it draws a lot of comments on it. I say something on Twitter, and all of a sudden it just blows up, and people start fighting with each other.
It's a hot stove people want to touch.
Well, I think the most important comment, though, comes from
Texas Tom Guerrero. Oh, I thought you were going to say Tom Guerrero.
Texas Toros.
Texas Toros. He said, all hail Cyber Bob. And then
100.
He also said, Spurs need some enforcers and dogs. Bring back Kevin Williams or T-Mass. I thought that was funny.
I agree. I mean, you need a Dort, you need a Drew Holiday, you need a Caruso, you need those guys, those 3-and-D defenders that'll just go in and make someone's life hell.
Yeah.
Sarah says, don't trade number 2. I like Dylan Harper. Wemby Harper, pick and roll. And she goes on to say, stick and pick. The Spurs eventually overtake the OKC Thunder using the same formula. And then Tyler said, Harper at number 2 feels like a no-brainer unless another opportunity presents itself.
I think it's funny that we're just imagining Wemby picking and rolling with all these people, but there's only like one person that can be the picker. You know, there's only one guy that can pass the ball to Wemby, and we have Fox now, we have Castle, Harper. Who else is going to be in this pick and roll right now?
I think.
Thank you for commenting.
They will continue to. They could make a big deal, but I think they're going to continue to just revamp the rest of the roster. Like, I think what Chuck's saying is like they can take a big step forward without it being the Giannis Cam Johnson, right? So they pick Harper at number 2, and let's just say they move number 14 and a future pick. Move Devin, move Jeremy, move on from Blake and Malachi, and bring in Brooke Lopez, or I'm just throwing names out. a big and a Kevin Horter 3-point sniper, right? So there's deals to make this roster a championship roster built around Wemby, Fox, Castle, Harper.
One thing's for
I'll
sure.
leave it at those 4.
They can't build it exactly like OKC because Paul George was never on the Spurs. And unfortunately, Paul George has fueled the potential 2 title teams with trades of Paul George. So
You know who was behind that trade? Kawhi Leonard.
it's true. It's true.
Kawhi Leonard demanded Paul George, and Lawrence Frank says, I don't think we should give up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Doc Rivers said, yeah, I don't think we should give up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
The only good news about that is that the Sixers have him now, so maybe they'll be built up next.
Think of that. If you're the Clippers, he's not even there anymore. You gave up Shai and 5 number ones.
Wasn't it more than 5? Wasn't it like 5 plus 2 pick swaps?
2 seconds.
And 2 swaps or something like that? It was crazy. All right, let's move on to the Cowboys here. So the Cowboys OTAs today, a couple of things we learned quickly. Micah was not in the building. Has not been in the building since last Monday, I believe, Tuesday. Schotty said that they had lunch. This is what Schotty had to say when asked about Micah being in the building.
Yeah, again, like I said, voluntary right now, the camp. He was here last week, had lunch with him, actually bumped into him in the airport. He was going to do some traveling, so I have not seen him yet this week. But, again, my big thing with all the guys, whether they're here or not, is you can get great work in, and you can get ready, and you can be mentally prepared. But, whether you're Micah, who's not here, he's here in and out, whether you're Dak, doesn't really matter. It's just put your work in, get ready. There's a lot of ways to get ready and prepared, and I think the league's made it very clear that, it's all voluntary.
I don't know why. I mean, but it rubs me the wrong way a lot when star players miss voluntary workouts. Yes, it's voluntary. They don't have to be there, and Coach Schottenheimer has made it very clear that they do not have to be there, and he's talked to Micah and told Micah he doesn't have to be there. But when Micah is itching to get maybe the biggest contract a non-quarterback has ever signed and wants to be the leader of this team, wants to be all these things, if you're not going to be there, like, it just rubs me the wrong way as a fan and as a fan of football in general, not just a fan of the Cowboys.
So they said he wasn't there this week at all in terms of being in the building and all.
He's been in and out.
Lunch. Okay, well, so to me, like, this is a precarious situation for him this year because he's on the cusp of getting really big money, and the last thing you want to do is do something in a voluntary workout where you're not required to be on the field. However, there is something to be said, I agree, with being in the room, being at meetings, talking up the guys next to you before they walk out on the practice field. I think there would be a lot to be gained by that, and we've talked about this before. The tempo at practice is different when your best players aren't on the field, right? If you're doing the drills with the number ones, then there's a whole different vibe to the practice. But I would think, from my standpoint, the thing that would really piss me off is Myles Garrett being in Japan when he just took the bag from the Browns and he signed, sealed, and delivered, took all this money, and he's out, watching his girlfriend do something over there. She's a skateboarder or something, or snowboarder.
Sure.
Something.
Beats me.
Michael went to Japan last year.
Bob, do you know what Myles Garrett's girlfriend does?
I have no idea, but Myles Garrett does whatever he wants.
Apparently.
You're useless. You're a Browns fan. You're supposed to know his girlfriend's name is.
You were rubbed the wrong way. Let me ask you this. Is Jerry rubbed the wrong way by Micah's absence?
Not to the point where he's not going to pay him. We know that he is. So, I don't know. It is weird this time of year because, again, Coach said it last week. I got an agent, right? So everybody's this small little corporation. You're just trying to figure out how best to work with other corporations while you're on the field for an hour.
I mean, it's a business, and if Micah's gone for mandatory minicamp, then I'll be really concerned. Because people have missed that before and been signed. Did CD miss it last year? I don't
Zach
remember.
Martin missed 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, he missed a couple weeks of training camp, but I'm talking about mandatory mini camps in June.
Yeah, I think CD was a no-show, but again, he was going through a contract negotiation, and I think if he's being honest, missing all that time does take you a while to get up to speed with what's going on.
But Micah's talked such a big game about wanting to be a leader, wanting to be a Cowboy for life, wanting to be someone that this team and these fans can rely on. And then we rely on you to show up for mini camps. Like,
I don't know. I don't know if they do. Like, he was there for the last one, and everybody was saying the right things. He
wasn't there, though. Like, he was there for the first day to talk to coach and have lunch and learn a little bit of the system. Like, he wasn't on the field.
He wanted to be there. Well, I don't think he should be on the field, man. Non-contact knee ACL until you got your money.
I'm with you, man. It's
but
it's
Jerry,
a different ballgame.
Jerry's proved that it doesn't matter if you get hurt. He'll pay you anyway. Look at that.
Too wrong there. Yeah.
All right. The other thing we learned is I really enjoyed the story that Schotty told about George Pickens and how he's advancing through camp. So let's hear that real quick.
I think, number one, he's doing an incredible job picking up the system. I talked about his intentionality last week, I believe, just how hard he's working. But there was a play, and it really wasn't anything George did. But we're in the red zone, and we were in kind of a spread formation. And we hit him for a touchdown. Joe did on a little a bender, like a little skinny post, down in the low red zone. And CD was on the other side. And when CD broke out and he looked back to see where the ball went and he saw George in the end zone, he kind of dragged his toes up. CD was like, yes! So I think his excitement for knowing that we've added some pieces which will add to the competition, it was cool to see a guy like CD be excited. And those two guys' relationship is awesome. I'm sure you guys have probably done stories on it, but they're spending a lot of time together. I think it's great for CD to have someone like George, not that George is a young player, but someone that GP really looks up to in CD. They obviously have trained some together, but that relationship's really cool, and I'm enjoying kind of just sitting back and watching it develop, and the two of them getting together and spending time with Junior Adams, and it's been really cool and fun for me to watch just how it all is beginning to fit together.
I just like hearing that CD is like, thank you for giving me someone who can catch.
Somebody stretched the field, right?
I mean, you look at the receivers last year. Brandon Cooks is in his 30s, and obviously he's very good, a very good veteran presence in the locker room and all that stuff. But he's not George Pickens. Like,
very few are, right? 16.3 per. I mean, you keep going back to that. That means something. Dude's been in the league a while, and he's averaging 16.3 yards per carry. Give me that.
Myles Garrett's girlfriend's name is Chloe Kim, by the way. Bob just told me. And Dad. So.
Put a picture up too.
Oh, did you? Nice. Thanks.
By the way, I enjoy hearing Brian Schottenheimer speak. I think he's very good with the media.
You were gone when we were talking about this. He's growing on me.
Yeah, I think two things are true, right? I mean, it's going to be one or the other. He's going to either be they win and he's a superstar and he's great and everybody loves him, or he's the smartest guy in the room to him. And they go 7 and 10, and he's fired in a couple of years, and he's Dave Campo, and everybody's like, that guy completely BS'd his way into a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be one or the other.
There's a couple ways that it can go, and there's a lot of people who've tried to do things differently. He talked about Steve Spurrier in his press conference today about why he wears a visor, and it goes back to Spurrier and his days in Florida. And there's been Steve Spurrier tried to go to the NFL and change the way things were done, and it didn't go very well. And there's been a lot of coaches that have tried to do it differently in the NFL. And there's a couple of pillars you just can't change. Practice, music, and putting the ping pong table in the locker room and all that stuff. That's all fun and games, but it's going to come down to how you win on the field, how you play on the field.
And by the way, note about the Steve Spurrier visor. Manufactured in San Antonio by the Bob Coleman Tex Ace Hat Company.
Nice.
I can't actually think of a way to transition to the next topic better than that, because lastly, just want to say thank you to everybody who has tuned in over the 200 episodes of Sneakers and Cleats. We started 2 years ago when Wemby was being drafted. We want to talk a lot of Spurs, and we've talked a whole lot of Spurs ever since then. So just a couple of thank yous to start out. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who's tuned in, audio and visually. We started, I think, the YouTube stream and doing it visually was like 30 some odd episodes in. YouTube stream was about 60 some odd episodes in once we moved down to this space, this frozen tundra that we're in right now. So thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Secondly, Chuck, Don, are both encyclopedias of San Antonio knowledge.
I don't know about that.
But seeing as your visor comment, that's why I transitioned like this. But appreciate both of you guys giving so much time and candor and knowledge and humor sometimes. I guess you guys are kind of funny at points. Next, I want to also thank all the guests we've had on. We had Jerome Bettis, Matt Leinert, Trey Wingo, Michelle Beadle, RJ Ochoa. I know I'm forgetting some, who I apologize. But we'll have more on over the next 200, I promise. And last but not least, everyone behind the scenes who helps us get on air. Bob Gambert, Cyber Bob, who apparently is the key linchpin to the show, according to at least one viewer.
Or me.
And Bob.
And Bob. And Bob's wife, maybe. Javi, Luis Escamilla, Kelly Flores, who stepped in to direct, Chris Cordova, who stepped in to direct, Amanda Moreno, who has stepped in for Bob at times, and Zach Hedrick, who has filled in when I'm gone. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. It's been fun. Guys?
Well, I think our biggest fan,
Tom Guerrero.
Jordan.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say Tom Guerrero.
Tom Guerrero. Shout out Tom Guerrero. Shout out TG.
You know who's actually a huge fan? It was,
Your wife.
no, well, yes. She's a big fan of me. I don't know about the show.
She's a big fan of the show.
Yeah, I'm erring on what you just said.
I don't think she listens every day anymore.
Okay.
But
You come on, she hits. After you come on, she hits mute.
the SAPD PIO, whose name is escaping me, Johnny's a big fan of us right now. I was in the commissioner's court the other day doing a Project Marvel thing, and he was behind me. He sent a picture. He's like, breaking Spurs news. I was like, wait, what happened? He's like, no, you're in commissioner's court. I'm just trying to make sure you're still paying attention. I was like, God damn it, man. But anyway, thank you so much to everybody. We're gonna go eat some cake and think about the next 200 episodes. But anyway, that's all we got for you on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. I think I've said that at least 200 times over the last 2
Exactly
years.
200
You boys
So
got, you got a mess to clean up. Not me, because I didn't pop any of them those jalapeno poppers that you got.
All right, well, one more for the road.
Oh!
We'll see you on Monday.